Welcome back to our YouTube channel. In today's class we'll be learning how to make this beautiful A-line dress. It has this beautiful one-sided cape collar on the neckline. It has a side pocket as you have seen, and it has a cascading sleeve. It's a very simple tutorial and it's beginner friendly. This is something you like to learn. Kindly stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. Thank you. Okay, so this is an A-line dress and I'm going to be cutting both my fronts together with my back. So I have my fabric folded into four, which means you can see there's no zipper allowance here. I'm not going to be adding a zipper to this, so I'll just make the neckline wide enough for the hair to pass through, or I just open the center back a bit so that I can put a button for my hair to go through it. So the shoulder I'm working with is 15 inches, very by 2 is 7.5, so I have 7.5 inches here. My neckline, like I said, is going to be like a boat neckline, so the width of the neckline that I'm working with is going to be around 4.5 to 5 inches. That's what I want. So if you don't want your neckline to be this wide, all you just need to do is to open it at the center back a bit so that your head can pass through. So you can see me, I'm making the depth of my neckline to be around 4 inches. You can even make yours around 5 inches if you feel it's not going to be easy for you to wear it. So after marking those 2 points, I'm going to come in with my curved ruler and then connect my neckline, and here on my shoulder I'm going to go down by 1 inch and connect my shoulder slope as well. So from there I'm going to mark my armhole. My armhole is 9 inches, and on that point I'm going to mark it, and then I'll mark my bust measurement. So this is an A-line dress, like I said, so you don't really need too much measurement. The bust I'm working with is 44 inches, 5 by 4 is 11, and then I'm going to add 1 inch for seam allowance. So after that I'm going to go ahead now and connect my armhole curve using my curved ruler like this, and then from there I'll go over to my hem. So for your hem, you just need to measure from your shoulder to where you want your dress to stop. So for me, I want it to stop around 40 inches. So I have about 41 or 42 inches here, so 41.5 inches, because I need to hem it. So now on the hem line I'm going to take my hip measurement. The hip I'm working with is 46, divided by 4 is 11.5. So depending on how big you want this to be, you can add 5 inches to 6 inches, to between 3 to 6 inches basically to your hip, depending on how free you want it to be. And like I said, I don't want this to be too free, so I'm just going to be adding what I have here, which is around 3 inches to my hip. So this is not going to be really big free, but you can add more to yours. So now from this hem, now I'm going to connect diagonally to my bust. So you can see the way I'm just placing my tape so that I can mark it a bit. So this is just going to be, it's not going to be so free, but at the same time it's not going to be tight. So I'm connecting from there. Okay, so I just need to connect it, and that is it. You just cut it out. So the next thing now is for us to cut this out, and then we'll move straight to cutting our cape. Okay, there's a small collar like a cape on one side of the neckline. So I'm going to be cutting this on my paper because I want to introduce a little volume. So I'll be using slash and spread method for that. But if you want it to just lie flat on your chest, you can just cut it anyhow you want. So this is my shoulder slope. My front and back neckline is the same, so I'm just going to cut it together. Okay, so this is what I have. So before I open this out now, I'm going to cut out facing for it, and then I'm going to shape out my. So for the cape, I have my paper underneath my neckline like this. So I'll make sure that the center part is matching the center of my paper, and then I'm just going to move it down. So using my marker, I'm drawing out my neckline. You can also cut it directly, and then I'm drawing my shoulder slope as well. So now I can remove it. So now I'm going to bring in my tape rule and then measure the that I want for my neckline. So you can just maintain what you have here. This is about 3 inches, so You can measure 3 inches all round and then you connect it. So this can also serve as your, you can also use this to cut out your facing. Just make sure when you're cutting your facing, this part is on fold. So now after cutting, after connecting this, now I'm going to cut it out, and this is just going to be on one side of my neckline. So here I'll write my center fold here, because it may be a bit confusing if you don't indicate it. So this is what I have now. Okay, so I've placed this on my fabric to cut out my facing. So you can see I place it on fold. So I've cut out the facing both front and back. I'm going to set it aside. So if you want to cut your, you want to cut out your cape as well and you want it flat, you can leave it like this. But for me, I just want to introduce a little volume, so I'm going to be using slash and spread method to just divide this into two. So after dividing it, I'm going to slash it with my paper scissors. I'm going to slash it at the lower part. Remember, this is the neckline. So after slashing it, I'm going to place it like this again and then spread it a little. So not too much, around 1 inch is okay. I just want it to be a little bit wider than my neckline. So I'm just going to spread it a little and then I'm going to cut it out. So I placed it on fold so that I can use them to turn out each other. So I'm gonna have to spread it now, and then I added allowance on the hem because I'm going to turn it out. I decided not to add any allowance on the neckline because I'm going to turn everything with my facing. So I'm going to set this aside as well, and then I'm going to work on the sleeve. Okay, so I'm gonna have to cut out my basic sleeve. The measurement is my elbow length, which is 12 inches, and then I added 1 inch seam allowance. So now to shape the sleeve, I'm going to remove the allowance that I added on my to sew the underarm, which is 1 inch. I'm going to mark that, and then on the center fold of my sleeve, I'm going to come up by it around 4 inches, depending on how high you want it to be there. Okay, so after coming up by 4 inches, I'm going to bring in my ruler and then connect it diagonally to that 1 inch that I measured. Okay, so this is totally up to you. If you want the cascading effect to be really obvious, you can even come up more than that, but it's okay for me here. So after connecting it, I'm taking the two sleeves together, and then I'll go ahead and cut out this shape that I have. So you can have it in a straight form like I have mine, or you can use a curved ruler. So once you curve it out, this is what you have. You can see the shape that we now have on our sleeve. So to cut the flounce now, I'm going to measure what I have on this part, and that is around 20 inches for me, and that is going to be the radius of my flare. So I'm going to divide this 20 inches by 6.28, and then the length of my flare is going to be around 4 inches. So I'll go ahead now and cut that and bring it back to show us what we have. Okay, so I'm gonna have to cut out my flare, and then I cut two for each sleeve because I'm going to use one as my main fabric and the other one as my lining. So now you can decide, you can add interfacing to this, to the lining part, and then you sew your crinoline all right. But I'm not going to be adding crinoline to mine because I don't have it presently. So I'm just going to go ahead now and sew mine all around so that I can hem it neatly. So all of our pieces have been cut out now, so the next thing is for us to start to sew them together. So I'm going to start with the main bodies. Okay, so opening the main bodies up, this is what I have. So I'm going to go ahead and sew in my cape, and then I'm going to turn it out, and then I'll place it on one side. Okay, you can see I'll place it on one side. So by the time I place it, so this is what I want. So you can see that it lifts it up a bit because of the slash and spread that I did here. So this is what I have earlier. So if you connect it properly the way it's supposed to be, it's going to lift this part up. So you can see that my slash and spread now is closed. So this is the effect that I want on the front. That was why I opened it up a bit. So I'll turn this neatly and then sew it to the neckline. Then after sewing it to the neckline, I'll bring in my facing and then place it right side facing right side, and then I'll use it to turn out both my neckline and my cape for the front and back before I sew it on the shoulder and the side. Okay, so I've gone ahead to sew in my cape. After turning it out, I sew it on the neckline, and then I used my facing. So you can see that I used the facing to turn both the front and back, and you can see how wide my neckline is. So I'm going to turn it to the right side now so that we can see it. After turning the shoulder, I sew the side as well. So turning it out, this is what it looks like. So you can see this is my back and this is my front. So this is my cape sitting on my back. So you can see that I reduced my cape because I'm still going to fix a sleeve here. So in fact, you can even make it maybe half of your shoulder depending on how wide you want the cape to be. But I just want mine to be like this, so that is why I have it like this. So this is what it looks like now. You just need to iron it flat for everything to lay well. So for the sleeve as well, I went ahead to turn my flounce, my flare, and then I sew it to the hem, to my shaped hem. Remember we shaped this, so by the time you put it together, you have the upper part going up like this while the lower part just comes. So the excess that I have, I just pleated it on the upper part here, so I sew it to the lower part. So the next thing is for me to fix my sleeve to my bodies as well. So after fixing my sleeve, I have enough fabric. I'm going to create a side pocket. Okay, so I've gone ahead to fix my sleeve, and this is what it looks like. So you just need to serge it on this upper part so that it can be neatly finished. This is my neckline and my cape, and this is the side. So like I said, I still have a little fabric left over, so I'm going to use that to create a small pocket for this side. So to cut my pocket, I'm just going to fold my fabric into two. I don't think this can do up to four pockets, so I don't know. I'm just going to fold my fabric into two, or you just cut one first and then you use that to cut the rest. So here, for the opening of the pocket, I'm just going to measure around 7 inches for the opening. So I'm measuring from here to here. It's just a normal regular pocket, so you can just place your arm like this, just the way you dip your hand in your pocket, and you just draw around it. Okay, so this is just a simple way of cutting a side pocket. It's not an outer pocket, so it's just a normal regular pocket. So once you have it as big as you want, you come in with your scissors and then you cut it out. So you need to cut four of this. So I'm just going to cut around it because I'm still going to turn it out. So you need to cut four of these to have two side pockets, and then you place two against each other for you to turn them out neatly so that I can have one full pocket. I don't know if you understand. So I'll go ahead and cut, look for spaces to cut the remaining three that I need. So when you're cutting it, to make sure you cut them right side facing right side for each side. So I've gone ahead to cut the rest, and what I'm going to do now is to place them right side facing right side, and then I'm going to go ahead and sew it all around. So I'll just leave 1 inch on the edge here and sew, and leave 1 inch on the other edge. So I'll do this now and bring it back to show us how we're going to fix it. So I've gone ahead to sew it all around now, and I left the 1 inch like I explained. So this is what it looks like on the right side. So it is sewn together. So to fix this, I'm going to bring in my dress, and then I'm going to measure my waistline, which is 17 inches, or wherever it is you want your pocket to start from. So now I'll place my tape on the shoulder and then measure the 17 inches downwards. So I have 17 inches here. So the next thing I'm going to do is to measure my opening from the 17 inches, sorry. Okay, so from the shoulder area, I measured 17 inches downward, which is here. So now I've marked the 17 inches. So I'll place my tape here to measure the 7 inches for my pocket opening. So which means my pocket will sit from here, from the 17 inches to the 7 inches. So what I'm going to do, because I've already sewn this dress, I'm going to go ahead and lock this stitch on my machine. So I will lock it on this point so that it's not going to remove. So after locking it, I'm going to bring in my pocket, okay, and then I'll open the seam on the dress. So after opening the seam on the dress, I'm going to match my pocket on this side to this side, and then I'll sew it. I'll flip it, the other side of the pocket, I'll match it to the other seam as well, and then I'm going to sew it. So I'll do this now and bring it back to show us the next thing to do. So I've gone ahead to lock my stitch, and then I've sewn it. You can see me sewing the pocket on both sides. I'm yet to loosen my pocket. You can also loosen it if you want. I just prefer to do it like this. So I've sewn the pocket to the seam allowance on both sides. So the next thing now is to close up this seam allowance again, and then I'm going to run a stitch across my pocket. So I'll go ahead and run a stitch from where my seam stops over my seam allowance across the pocket, just to lock it on both sides. So after doing that, now I'm going to open up the seam for me to access my pocket. Okay, so I've run a stitch over it. As you can see my actual seam line. So I just run a stitch over the seam allowance just to lock it in like this. So the next thing now is for me to open up my seam, okay, my actual seam, which is from here to here. So this is the seam that I used to sew it to my allowance. This is the actual seam of the dress that was running from the upper part all the way. So it is that seam that is of the actual dress that I'm going to open up so that I can access my pocket. So I've opened up the seam now. I'm going to turn this to the right side so that we can see what this looks like. Okay, so after turning it, this is what it looks like. You can see my pocket, so you can dip your hand inwards or bring out your pocket anyhow you want. You can see it is neatly finished. So, and if you check the side seam also, you can see that the side seam is not affected. Your pocket is just inwards like that. So it's a very simple way of fixing a side pocket. Since it's an inner pocket, it's not an outer pocket, so it's very simple to make. So this is what the full view of the dress looks like, and I'm gonna head to hem it on the lower part as well. So all I just need to do is to give this a very good press, and then we'll take it to the mannequin so that we can see what it looks like. This is the dress of the mannequin. You can see the white kino neckline that I created. That's because I don't want a zipper or button at the back. So this is why I did not for the head to go through. And this is our one-sided cape as well as our pocket that we also created. So this is what the sleeve looks like. You can see that it just goes high and then it just falls to the lower part, just like we shaped it. And this is what the full view of the dress looks like. It's a very simple dress and it's really beautiful. This is something you've enjoyed. Kindly like, comment and subscribe to our channel if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.